So you probably just know Grace O'Malley as the Irish Pirate Queen, but she was so much more than that throughout history. She was a pirate. She was probably the Pirate Queen, but she was also like more than that. She was just a really strong protector of her family and of Ireland. Um, I first heard about her when I was in kindergarten. I read this history book about strong women throughout history, and she was one of them. And I have just been like obsessed with her ever since because she's real cool. Um, and she's got like everyone's heard all of like these rumors about her, and she's got this whole legacy, which is like about half of it's true, but like her real life is so much more interesting than that, which started in 1533 when she was born. Um, Not a lot or like anything is known about her mom. I think she died when she was real young, but her dad was the owner of a trading company. So he had fleets of ships that would go out and like trade and then come back, well, the stuff they traded for. Um, and she like basically like grew up around that, around ships and everything. And she like always really wanted to go out on the trading journeys. And then apparently one time when she was like 7 or 10 or something, she wanted to go out on one of the ships really bad, but her dad told her no because her hair was long and he said that he was afraid it would get caught in the rigging. And so to kind of like embarrass her dad into letting her go on the trip, and also just so she would be able to go on the trip, she cut off all her hair. And that earned her the nickname Granuaile, which I believe is Gaelic for like shaved head. And it also made her dad like really respect her and realize that she like really wanted this and would be like a very strong presence on the ship. So he let her go on all of the trading trips ever since then. And she like really developed like a strong relationship with the crew and with all the workers. And they yeah, it was kind of like a stereotype or like a rumor type of thing at the time that like a woman on a ship was really bad luck, but she was like really good on the ship, and she like grew up kind of like training with her dad to take over the company one day, and they just like saw how much potential she had and how good she was at everything she did, so they all trusted her with their lives pretty much. So when she grew up, she got married to a man for political reasons. I don't think he mattered too much in her life besides being her first husband. They had 2 kids together, and then he died. And there was like, the laws were really weird at the time in Ireland because apparently a woman is not allowed to own land that her husband once owned. So Grace wasn't allowed to own the land that her husband had, even though he died, and like she lived there. But women were allowed to like buy their own land and go live there, so she had to buy other land besides the land that she was living on. But she did that, and she took over her dad's trading company because at that time he was getting a little older too. And she just worked on the trading company, so trading things and also like a little bit of piracy on the side, which is what a lot of ships would do at the time. If you owned a fleet of ships, you would go out, and if you saw another ship, you would like go and demand a fine for like them being on your waters. And if they didn't give you the fine, then you would just like take over their ship and take it anyway. But I don't think a lot of people knew about Grace O'Malley. She had kind of a reputation of like, you know, being a very fierce pirate, so I don't think a lot of people would say no to her. And then around this time, a little bit after she took over the trading company, she met a man called Richard Bourke. I think his nickname was Richard the Fighter or Richard the Furious or something, because he had like a very fiery personality. And so did she, and they kind of got along and they got together. They got married and had 1 son, which everyone kind of knew him as Grace's favorite son, which is kind of weird that they would specify that, but it was specified throughout history that he was her favorite son. And then her and Richard eventually stopped getting along. They were just fighting all the time, so they got a divorce. And the story of the divorce is that Richard was out on some business trip, and then he came back to their house, and all of his stuff was just like scattered over the front lawn, and Grace like leaned out her window and yelled, "Richard Bourke, I divorce you." or Richard Bourke, I banished you, sorry. Which I think is probably something she would do. But they didn't actually get divorced. They stayed married for political reasons, kind of like Beyonce and Jay-Z. Um, so at this time, around the time that Grace was doing all her piracy and everything, it was the same time that England was trying to take over Ireland. So Ireland was apparently like the gateway to a lot of land that England wanted access to, so they wanted to have control of Ireland. But Ireland did not want to be controlled, so a lot of English ships would come over and try to get control of Irish ships, but then they would like kind of be fought off. And Grace was one of the main people who was like fighting off English ships every single time. Like she wouldn't ever really like be captured or anything. She got captured once in her life and that was it. And she like kind of like really incited a lot of rebellion with other pirates and ship owners of the time. So she kind of had a reputation in England. So she had a warrant put out for her arrest, and also under England law she wasn't allowed to be on the sea. She was like banished from the seas, but that was under England law, not Irish law. So they couldn't really do anything about it. But eventually she was captured one time, yeah, but then she was released because her husband or ex-husband, Richard, was kind of being a little bit too violent with his fighting off of English ships. He would also like take prisoners and kind of torture them. So she was let go so she could go talk him down and tell him not to do that anymore. And then she wasn't captured again after that, but her favorite son was captured kind of as like a trade for Grace. So they captured him and said, like, if you come here and we arrest you, then we'll let your favorite son go. And she didn't want to get arrested, but she also like loved her son, so she wanted him to be let go. So she decided to just go straight to the top and talk to Queen Elizabeth about it. So the legends kind of say that she like went up to the door and like banged on the door, like demanded the queen to come down and talk to her, but that definitely didn't happen because there was like a lot of guards out there. She would not have gotten to that point. So what actually happened was she had this friend who was a bishop, and he kind of knew the queen, so she was like 1 degree of separation away from the queen already. So she had her friend the bishop write the queen a letter asking to meet with her, and the queen accepted. So she went and had a conversation with her basically, and they probably related on a lot of things. They were both mothers, they were both like females in like very like strong positions of power, and they definitely related. So the queen decided to let her son go and to pardon her and to lift her arrest warrant and her ban from the seas, so she was able to go back to Ireland after that and continue trading and everything. And she also continued with her piracy and trying to like fight off English troops and all that. But yeah, so she kept on doing that. She was the owner of the trading company until her death, which was at 90 years old, which was really old for the time. And she was like still out there like being a captain and everything and fighting and all that. And Ireland did eventually get taken over by the English, but I really think that she was like I think that she like stalled that process a whole lot. She was a big part of that, at least. And she basically just spent her whole life like doing things that like only men were supposed to do of the time. Like women didn't really do any of it, or like weren't allowed to do any of it, but she was just so good at all of it that people didn't care at all. And she was just like a very strong woman, a very like protective woman, a strong fighter, and I think everyone should know about her, and I think that she definitely earned the title of Pirate Queen.